Well, could the invasion at the U.S. southern border be even worse than we imagined? Is that even possible? Well, that's exactly what our next guest just found. J.J. Carroll is a 24-year veteran of the Customs and Border Protection. He traveled as part of a new documentary called Treason that he's working on. One of the first stops, though, was at Imperial Beach in San Diego, his old stomping grounds, to see how much it's changed in a few short years. And this is, of course, the main invasion point into the United States. And what he found in just a few short years from leaving the Customs and Border Protection under Joe Biden is astonishing. Watch.
Okay. I want you to understand, America. You got people sleeping in gutters. You got in the rain walk. You got over here. You got this. This is what I'm trying to tell you, America. When we say we're going to go on a mission to teach you what the hell's going on, if this is treason or not. This is treason. Look at this. Look at this, just people. They look like burritos stacked on top of each other. You gotta understand, United States Border Patrol, 100 years in our history, 97 years, we never did this shit. This never existed. If I showed Border Patrol agents that you had illegal aliens in America, sleeping and living in America with bonfires, people from Africa, Middle East, all of them military-age men, all of them. Look at them. All of them military-age men. You think any of these people give a crap about America? Any of them. Any of them. Look at what we got. This is America now.
All right. And JJ joins us now back home safely in South Dakota. JJ, welcome back to the show. I mean, it's been obviously not in uniform since you've been there. It's been a few years in uniform. You were back there to do interviews for when you were working on your book. But how much has that spot changed since you were last there?
It completely changed. This never happened. As I said in the video, this has never happened. Meaning, I spent 24 years, I spent 10 years in that area in fighting for my life, literally fighting for my life in that area. And people running from you and chasing them to the fence and tackling them and putting them making them submit to put the handcuffs on them. Now they're actually living on the US side, burning tires to keep them warm. And here's the biggest thing. God put inside me, as he did a lot of law enforcement officers, especially the guys that I consider very good. We can tell instantly and almost like that who's good and who's bad. Meaning, I know when somebody is just, okay, that's going to be a farmhand and that person is going to be a maid and that person is going to kill somebody. That person is going to rape someone. That is a pedophile right there. When I walked around those 75 to 100 men, they were from the nation of India, from the continent of Africa, and from the Middle East. I, for the first time in a long time, felt extremely unsafe. And I knew, and I looked them in the eye, and they looked me square in the eye. I knew that they were criminals. And here's the difference back. It's not like it's 30 years ago, Clayton. 3 years ago, I was wearing a uniform down on that border. 3 years ago. Here's the difference. 3 years ago, I owned that piece of land. Now, they look at me as if I'm the trespasser on their property. They own that. I'm walking on their land. That is how insane this has gotten. And I'm telling you.
And that's how it comes across. When you were walking there, I felt nervous for you just seeing the video. I mean, it looks like you are a stranger in a strange land.
I was walking on soil that I dominated, that I owned, and that I spilled blood on, and other people's blood to keep America safe. So did all the men and women in the Border Patrol. We turned it over. They actually believe they own it. I'm trespassing in there. I did not feel safe. I'm a big man and I'll fight my way out of it. But I knew there was a probability, dude, you're going to have to fight. This is not safe on any level. But I need America, and I want your audience to understand, and I want to articulate this as clearly as I can. Everything that you think is bad, it's worse. Everything that you think is being done behind closed doors is worse. I want you to think of, we are being invaded, and it is almost, Clayton, as I have done these interviews and now that I have been able to piece things together through investigation and speaking to other journalists, I truly believe that this is like a military movement into America. It has all the signs of it because it's multiple strategic invasion points, multiple strategic people are moving the parts into America. At the end of Joe Biden's term, which is only about 8 months away, Clayton, he will have allowed in at least 25 to 30 million people into America. Try to wrap your brain around that.
It's unsustainable,
insanity.
as Elon Musk has been tweeting about this, right? The legal migration is one thing, but the United States, even just allowing an additional 1% population into the United States is devastating to the United States resources, our law enforcement, our disease, dealing with the hospitals. Hospitals have been overrun with illegal immigrants. That's something that's not being reported at all, but that's exactly what's happening. Speak to nurses, speak to doctors. This is what's happening in U.S. hospitals right now. Illegal immigrants flooding in, and who's paying for it? Of course, the U.S. taxpayers are footing the bill for all of this. So when you were there, you're seeing these military-age men, bonfires all along the border, inside the United States, camped there. And I think, you and I spoke off camera a little bit about how this is being orchestrated. And so I think you said, picture, if you will, how bad it is. And then you're not even close to understanding how bad it actually is. Can you talk a little bit about the lengths to which these NGOs and the United States government are facilitating all of this across the border?
The NGOs are the linchpin to all of this, because the federal government, without the NGOs, cannot continue on this. And the individuals that I interviewed, and I had one individual in particular he wrote the checks, literally wrote the checks to the NGOs, okay? And I said, explain to me in detail how this works. And he says, you have to understand this from the perspective of the federal government created a complete chaotic destruction of the border, but they do not have the resources, the manpower, the transportation units to move millions of people from the border into the interior. Thus, they need the NGOs. He says the federal government needs the NGOs so badly that the NGOs now run the government. And I actually had to say, pause in my interview. You got to explain that to me. He said, okay. He said, we're averaging between 7, 10, 15,000 illegal aliens crossing the border every day. He said, JJ, within a week, you're at 150 to 200,000 illegal aliens in America living on the border. In 2 weeks, you're at 250,000. At a month, you're at 400, 500,000. What does that look like? And I'm like, yeah, it's absolute a media nightmare that we're allowing suffering on our border. He said, so in order to continue this invasion, you can't have bodies stacked on top of each other by 500,000, 1 million. You have to have an apparatus in place, a machine that transports them and distributes 30 million people into America. And he says, that's how the power they have. And I said, well, how does it look when you cut a check? I said, give me an example of you cutting a check. And he goes, okay, I cut a check for $600 million. And I said, for what, like a 3-year contract? He goes, no, for a month or two, to one, not a dozen, 2 dozen of the major players, but to one. And I said, okay, well, since you cut the check, do you follow that money? Like, or you're the accountant he just laughed at me. He laughed at me. He said, there's no accounting. These are emergency funds given to them, and they do whatever they want. Nobody cares. The federal government, when you look at it, Clayton, from this perspective, the federal government wants to destroy America by flooding illegal aliens into America. It's indisputable. I don't even want to argue with people anymore. That's the fact. In order to do that, they have to spend tens of billions, hundreds of billions of dollars to do that. Do they care? No, just get it done. And that is what we're seeing with the partnership. And it's really not a partnership. The NGOs now have become the contractor, and the U.S. government is the subcontractor. It's crazy.
So when we're talking about this check being cut, and I know you don't want to disclose sources here on who's cutting this check, but this is a U.S. government employee cutting a check, or he's a sort of a liaison between the government and an NGO that's cutting these checks? So this is coming from the Department of Homeland Security. This is coming from the Department of Justice. Where is he? Where's this pile of money exist?
These are DHS employees. So I want you to think of like a giant conference room, and there's multiple DHS employees, and they're cutting checks. Government employees are cutting checks directly to the NGOs for hundreds, if not billions of dollars. It's federal money. It's coming from FEMA pot. And I also heard this. My sources told me the NGOs run FEMA. FEMA doesn't run the NGOs. The NGOs tell them what they're going to do. The NGOs tell the government, not only this is what I need, you're going to pay me this amount to do these things. And when I need more, I'm going to call you and you're going to give me more. And I said, well, what does that look like? He says, well, a subcontractor says, I need COVID tests. During COVID, Clayton, do you know how much it cost the federal government to administer one COVID test and read the results? $2,000 a COVID test. $2,000. And listen to what my source said, and this is brilliant. It's brilliant. It's just brilliant. I'm a Jewish Family Services. I move 500 people from San Diego on planes and buses to Maine. I still have people coming here, so now I have to move those people from Maine to, say, Michigan. The cost just keeps spinning. So after I move them to Maine, I'm going to retest those 500 people for COVID at $2,000 a pop to move them to Michigan. And he goes, all they're doing, my sources tell me, all the NGOs are doing is just moving a giant shell game of 1,000 people there, 2,000 people there, 50,000 people there. And it's so imagine if you're in a business and I'm contracting with you, Clayton, and I'm saying, Clayton, you have to take care of 10,000 packages for me every day.
Yeah.
And then you tell me it's going to cost you $5,000 a package. I don't care because I have endless money I can print. And this is just rolling out. So we are looking at, and I don't want to black pill because this is America. We can overcome anything. But I'm telling you, the farther we slide down this hill, the more bloody it's going to be to get us back up. We are at 45 million illegal aliens in America right now. This is congressional testimony, 45 million. Some people believe that it's already surpassed 50. 45 million illegal aliens. You said Elon Musk, and I saw that tweet, 1% destroys, 1% of our population of illegal aliens will cripple America. If there's 45 million, we're at about 13, 14% of the population. If you and I argue and say, okay, let's say I'm 50% wrong, you're still at about 22, 25 million. So you're still about 7, 8, 9% of the population. So when you have people that are aligning now, major voices, Elon Musk, probably the biggest voice outside of Trump, is saying this is all going to crumble. I am a guy that's been in there for 24 years. I'm telling you it's crumbling. I'm telling you the machine is so big now, Clayton, that I do not see it being able to be dismantled and broken down because it's too much money, too much power.
How many NGOs do you think we're talking about here? I mean, if you had to guess, how many are operating and are getting thousands?
This is hard to.
Well, I could imagine why this would make sense. I think the reason why that makes sense, right? Because if you got 4 of them, then we know their names, we expose them, we talk about them. But you've got thousands of little mom and pop operations that are moving 5, 10, 16 people around the country, much harder to track, much harder to find scrutiny and bring scrutiny upon those individuals, right?
That's how they will launder the money. That's how they wash it. So if you're the federal government, Mayorkas, and we're going to see this because you're already seeing child rape, women being raped, murders skyrocketing across America because the NGOs have brought them all over. Federal government's going to say, Jewish Family Services did it. Jewish Family Services is going to say, well, I have 100, 200 subcontractors underneath me. They did it. Well, who are those subcontractors? Well, they just changed their names. There's no way to trace them. And I asked my source this, even though I knew the answer. I wanted it on tape. I said, who's vetting the NGOs? The people working for the NGOs. He says, no one is vetting anyone. We're talking about taking young, unaccompanied alien children and trafficking them across state lines. And nobody knows who's doing it? Think of that. Child Protective Service in California can't bring children to Nevada. There's a process that has to happen. We have people that we have no idea. I have inside information. They're saying the people that are trafficking, moving these children are all felons. The people driving the buses that are transport buses driving them all over America are felons. This is the biggest story that is going to unravel in the next couple years and decade. And we are going to hear stories that are going to sicken you. But I'm pre-warning you. Everything that I knew was happening, I knew it. I even miscalculated how successful and how brilliant their plan is. And I have to applaud them. I'm going to have to applaud Mayorkas. I can't stand them. I can't stand the Democrats and the Rhino Republicans. But I will, as an intellectually honest person, say to my adversary, you guys are incredible. You are rock stars. If you could put forth that energy to make America prosper, no one on the planet could touch us in any level of any type. But you have taken all of your energy, time, talent, treasure, and all of your intellect to destroy America, and you are winning.
Well, JJ's new documentary is called Treason. I know you're just starting the process. This was really the first leg of it. And what you've uncovered in this first leg is terrifying. I can't wait to see what else you uncover with this. And JJ, of course, also the author of the great book called Invaded. I highly recommend you all read it. JJ, I'll just get you out of here real quick. What's the timeline, do you think, on the documentary, and where do you think you're going next?
We are going to Chicago, and then we will head out to New York and Boston, and then back down to the border in Texas. We'll be done by the summer, and we hope to release it in September or early October at the latest. You can go to GiveSendGo/Save in America. We are self-funding. The production company obviously put forth all the majority of the money, but the costs are exorbitant. So if you could go, even as your audience has already been so generous, just even if you have $5, it adds up and allows us to go further, interview more people, conceal their identity. Because here's the other thing, Clayton. Everyone wants to talk to us, but no one wants to talk to us because they're scared to death of being fired, being jailed by our own government. And I'm not getting classified information because I would not allow them to do that because I know that put you in jail. This is all unclassified. This is open information, but they're scared to death. I have to block them out. I have to change their voice. I can't even show a silhouette of them. So I just actually have a black screen because our federal employees are so nervous about their own employer, the federal government. That's how bad things have gotten in America. And you say, well, why don't they become a whistleblower? My God, have you seen what's happened to the whistleblowers? They've lost their jobs. They get threatened to go to jail. Why would anyone in their right mind be a whistleblower? So this is bigger than even what I envisioned. And I am a little concerned, and I do have some, I don't know if fear is the right word, but as I'm moving forward with this, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And I can't wait to tell the story because I will not remain silent. I will not be part of the problem. I have to be part of the solution, no matter what that may entail for me in the future. And I appreciate your time you always give me.
Well, God bless you. And our audience has been amazing. We'll put a link in the description if anyone wants to donate to the documentary, like $5, $10, just anything will help move this along so JJ and his team are able to do more interviews and bring and shine a light on this. So, well, thanks for the amazing work already, JJ, and we'll check back with you as this story unfolds in Chicago and these other spots along the way. We appreciate it. Thank you, JJ.
Thank you, Clayton.
I really hope you enjoyed watching this video. You know, YouTube thinks that you'll actually like this next video right here. It's personalized based on your own viewing habits. So if you watch the video, please leave a comment. Let us know what you think about it, and we will see you next time, everyone.